Okay, thank you. Alderman, please.
I have a question for the gentleman. I think last year or the year before, you put up a new sign, but you put up the pole sign instead of the monument sign when you knew
I
this
did not
was.
put up, I put a cover on the existing pole sign that was there.
Okay. But it still cost you some money. Could have saved some money.
It cost me significantly less money than if I would have taken the pole that was already there and turned that into a monument sign,
Okay.
of which at the time I was planning a significant $2.2 million expansion that I've completely put off, or else I'd be up on the ledge jumping right now. So again, I'm not suggesting to you that I feel any differently about what you guys are talking about, other than to share information that I know about what it cost me to operate my business.
Okay, thank you. All right, sounds like no other sign discussions tonight. We'll pick this up in a week. The next item is a report and recommendation on vehicle purchases for community development. This is fairly recently discussed at our annual budget meetings and approved at that point, but I will let Mr. Forrest elaborate on what it is that he's requesting here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since the council was gracious enough to include these and approve these with the new budget, since that time, I've had conversations with vehicle maintenance. I had them review the information that I got from Sutton Ford, which is the company that we will be ordering these vehicles through. He reviewed the options available, and down at the bottom, we're proposing to buy two 2010 Ford Fusions. $32,000 was allowed in the budget. What we've done is we've removed a couple of the options that were initially on there, one of them being the extended warranty. I think the other one was the spotlights for the vehicles. And what that has done is brought the price of the two vehicles, including delivery, down to $28,870. So at this point, I'm just requesting permission from the council to go forward with the order.
And that does fall into the budget amount you had asked for, so Alderman Wesley, Eugene.
I have one question. John, on 40 vehicles, no doubt about it, I think we need to. My question is, are we putting radios in these vehicles too?
The shortwave radios that
Yeah.
are in the older vehicles,
Or are we eliminating those?
we're eliminating those, and the reason being everybody in the department now uses Nextels, and to be honest, I can't remember the last time I used that radio.
Okay, my other question, will this also be, will the electrical be in there to put the bar light in the rear of that building on that car too? Is that part of this purchase?
I don't believe it is. I can check with the dealer, but that might be an aftermarket thing, that
So that will
installation
be
that we
it.
would have to
So,
do.
okay, I just want to make sure. Okay, I have no problem.
Okay, then I'm going to make a motion to approve the purchase of two 2010 Ford Fusions for a grand total, including delivery, of $28,870. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Please call the roll.
Alderman Shockey,
Yes.
Alderman Winger,
Yes.
Alderman Eugene Wesley.
Yes,
Alderman Cadella.
Yes.
Alderman Police.
Yes.
Alderman Coles.
Yes.
Alderman Roy Wesley.
yes.
Alderman Lewitton.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Items to be considered at future meetings. We have two on here, plus one more that I think we may add. One, community development administrative adjudication hearings is tentatively set for the May 28th meeting. Land Vision Unified Development Ordinance, staff has included me in the preliminary review meetings of this, and I have good news that Land Vision is definitely on the right page and going in the right direction with this. So I think very soon this will be at Zoning Board of Appeals, and then Plan Commission, and then on to us. A third one that I would like to add as a request from a council member, an overall discussion of that sign ordinance and its applicability to current conditions and to Wooddale in general. Is there anything else anybody would like to add? Alderman Shockey.
Yes, I have a question for the mayor, if I may. He gave a very stirring speech this afternoon to the Chamber of Commerce about the state of the city. The jokes didn't go over that as well as I thought they might have, but it was good, and the people learned a lot
That's
from it.
typical of my jokes.
But I do have a question. You mentioned that we would be doing the railroad station in September. You mentioned September, and is that the day we're going to start, or the day we're supposed to finish it?
Presentation said summer, may have misspoke, but I believe it's summer is the start of construction.
You did say summer, but then you said September.
I apologize, I don't know where that came from.
So when will this, as long as we've approved it, when will the work start on the train station?
I spoke to one of the contacts at Metra yesterday afternoon, and he told me that we can expect the trailer that Metra is loaning to us that's going to be used as a temporary station is going to be delivered to the site on Monday. At that point, the contractor has to run temporary electrical power to that. He has to build on site stairs and a handicapped access ramp for that trailer. At that point in time, hopefully we should be ready for the groundbreaking ceremony and the demolition of the existing station.
If there is nothing else anyone would like to add for a future meeting, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Motion carries.
I'm calling to order the Finance and Administration Committee meeting of May 14, 2009. Will the minute taker please reflect the same members present? I declare a quorum. I make a motion to approve minutes dated April 9, 2009. Is there a second?
Second.
On the question?
I have a question.
Alderman Lewitton?
I'd like John to come up because there's a paraphrase of what John said, and I'm not sure if this is exactly what he said. John, could I read this out loud from the minutes and ask you if this is your intent? I'm just going to read the beginning of it and the end of it. I'm going to skip everything in the middle, and then I'm going to ask you, is this what you said? Regarding vehicle maintenance, Mr. Kramer is asking for $10,000 for diagnostic equipment, which will increase downtime in the shop for vehicles. Is that correct?
I think that was either I misspoke or it was taken out of context and transposed incorrectly.
Would you accept a motion to change that to will decrease downtime?
Yes, I'm willing to amend my motion. Does the seconder agree? There was a seconder here. Do you agree? Okay. Okay, so that motion passes as amended. Anything else, or, well, was there anything else on the new motion? Okay. Next item is report and recommendation regarding review of fiscal policies. Several policies were either brought forward and had not existed in the past, and other policies were revised and just made into a better form or modernized to today's environment. And a lot of work has taken place, and it certainly did not take place in the past week, that this has been going on for a while under both committees, or previous chairman as well as current. And Mr. Wilson has done what I believe to be a lot of work on this, and I do thank you for bringing all this forward. And with that, I'd like to hand this over to you for a high-level review of the policies, and then we will have any discussion that might be needed. Mr. Wilson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you did correctly state, and my memo outlines, a number of these policies didn't exist before. However, we were doing exactly what the policies say, so we were just basically memorializing what we actually do in policy form. instead of somebody from the outside world who would come in and say, hey, what are your policies? We can't go, well, we do this, but we have nothing to prove that we do this. So this is a way to safeguard ourselves against that situation. The fiscal policies, the 8 different sections are primarily day-to-day or the annual operations of the city. The investment policy currently existed, however, there was some cleanup to do. In particular, the diversification collars, or I guess a better way to put that would be limits as to how much we can invest in any one investment vehicle, just not to overexpose ourselves. And the removal in particular of commercial paper from the approved investment list. Most commercial paper has gone to auction grade, which is just unacceptable for us, so we wanted to make sure that that wasn't even an option. The debt management policy is completely brand new, and while we currently don't have any debt, there is the real possibility that we will in the future, and one of the first things the rating agencies will do is they'll ask us for our debt policy so they know what we're prepared to do or that we are prepared to do what we need to do. And if they ask and we have the deer in the headlights look, that's not going to bode well for our future from a rating standpoint. The fund balance policy is also new and is primarily to be a tool to help the city identify when we have a real problem from a cash flow standpoint and take corrective action at that point. The third page of the memo, the ordinances, gets a little tricky. Had a conversation this afternoon with the mayor and then conferred with legal counsel Bond that ordinance 1864 and 1821, we do need to retain those. And so I agreed with the mayor and council Bond to clean those up and bring those back to you at another point. So staff is withdrawing its request to repeal those 2 ordinances. And the ordinance for the investment policy, to repeal that, is still on the table just to make it a policy along with all the other ones.
Alderman Wesley.
Madam Chairman, actually, this is why these policies went into effect. It was just a little housekeeping to put something more in firm perspective in the finance department. And that's the only reason why these policies pretty much came forward, is that we wanted something pretty much intact. I thought they were very good policies. I did read them. I think it's securing our policies that the people in that department, if it changes, that they have to obey by the policies that we put in front of them now. Right now, lately it was, yeah, we had a policy, but it wasn't done. But now we have it on documents that they have to follow policy. So I think this is mainly just a house cleanup to get these policies written. I see no reason why we should not pass these policies.
Alderman Police.
Fred, I got a question on the investment policy. Under section 6, paragraph 1, the authorized financial dealers and institutions, approved security broker and dealers. I mean, are we talking about buying stocks and bonds, mutual funds? No, right?
Mr. Wilson?
The broker-dealer term is kind of your generic industry term, if you will. If you look, bear with me here a second. Under section 7(1)
Same one?
of the same one, correct?
Okay.
It says investment types. Those 6 bulleted items right there are all that this policy will allow us to invest in. And if you notice, stocks and bonds and mutual funds are a money market mutual fund, but just a savings checking account, not an actual mutual fund like probably what you're thinking of, like a Spider or something like that. That's an index fund, but not a pure mutual fund like from Scudder or Putnam, something like that. Those 6 types are everything on that investment type bulleted list is rated AAA or higher. You can't get any better than AAA or higher. So,
Okay.
that answer your question?
I have one more.
Go ahead.
Under you have a single sheet fund balance policy up at the top, and it says general fund, section A. the first one where it says the unreserved fund balance target for the city of Wooddale's general fund will be a minimum of 25% of the fiscal year budgeted expenditures. This is the one where we're talking, we have like 10 months on hand, correct? Correct. And we're not going to find out anything until we only have 25% left? I think we should make it more like 50, over 50%. I'd like to know once we start going under 50%. I don't want to wait till we're down to 25% personally.
Sure. And I believe I spoke to Chairman Winger about that issue, and I believe yourself and Acting City Manager Benowitz, myself, and City Manager Dothwaite had a discussion about that and agreed that if you wanted to raise that limit up some, we would be comfortable raising that limit up. Just informationally, I spoke to a number of communities over the last couple days. Let me see.
Are we talking about the same communities that are out of money?
Roselle, Bloomingdale, Hanover Park, Addison, and Wheeling, their fund balance policy is all 25%. The village of LaGrange, their fund balance policy is between 50 and 75%. And there's a couple communities I have not heard back from yet. However, conventional wisdom from all of those 6 folks that I talked to said that the kind of the standard that they know of is 25%. But again, the conversation we had, if you do want to raise that up, we're certainly comfortable going along with that as well.
I personally would, but again, it's up to the council and the rest of the committee.
Well, I'm going to suggest that we carry this discussion with the understanding that it'll be 50%. So when we make a motion on these policies, we'll change it to 50%. Any other discussions or questions on these policies? Mr. Mayor?
I kind of like to echo Alderman Police's thoughts. I'd prefer if we did tighten up the language and not refer to security broker dealers. Because under your .71, the last dot there, when it says money market mutual funds, what is a money market mutual fund?
A money market account like you would get at just through any banking institution, just a money market account.
Why is it referred to as a mutual fund, though?
That's kind of the standard language for what they're called. If we want to strike that from the language, we can do that, certainly.
I'd prefer, personally, I think I have a great deal of trust in you, but as a policy going forward and somebody else picks this up or somebody else tries to apply it, and they may construe a little more liberally than our intent is here. And for my own preference, if we could tighten up the language, I think it would be helpful.
Sure. Nope, sorry, didn't mean to jump in. Would government money market funds be acceptable?
Sure. Is there any other discussion? Alderman Police?
Sorry. Under capital projects, back under the fund balance policy, can you explain that under capital projects, A, the unreserved fund balance at minimum of 15%? I'm not, that we're only spending 15% for capital projects, or how's that work there?
The rationale behind keeping that at 15% kind of goes back a little ways. Basically, we didn't necessarily want to run the capital projects fund down to zero in case over a winter a road completely goes south beyond repair and we need to do an emergency repair on something, albeit a road, a water tower, a booster station, something like that. Wanted to maintain some level of cushion in there in case an emergency came up that would fall under the capital projects fund account.
Is this
type.
where we're at right now, or is this a new number? So is this where we've always had it, council?
Well, this policy, everything on this page is completely brand new, so
So we've
there-
never
there's-
had a number?
never had a number, no.
Any further discussions or questions? I'm going to make a motion to accept the policies as presented tonight, aside from the 2 changes. First being the investment policy document, item number 7, number 1, that the 6th bullet be changed to government money market funds. And then secondly, the fund balance policy, that the general fund the minimum of 25% be changed to 50%. Is there a second?
Second.
And the question, Mr. Mayor?
That term is repeated again under diversification, where again says you can invest in money market mutual funds. And again, I don't think that's the intent, so wherever we use the mutual fund, if we could be a little more limiting.
We'll do a find and replace and catch them all.
The motioner agrees. Does the seconder agree?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is items to be covered at future meetings. Item number 1 being the wind sculpture material installation. Item B, prepayment of IMRF early retirement. Item C, police pension plan. Are there any other items? Mr. Wilson?
Just wanted to back up for a moment, if I may. Two of the ordinance repeals, I agree to pull off per my conversation with the mayor and council bond. The third one, to repeal the actual investment policy from being an ordinance to just a policy. We need clarification, because if you want to do that, then we need to get it to the attorney to repeal it. If not, then we need to get the ordinance to the attorney to update what we just changed. So we need to know which, to keep it an ordinance or to just make it a policy and not an ordinance.
Okay, my intent was to keep it a policy within the policies we discussed. So I missed that. Mr. Mayor, did you ask for it to be an ordinance?
My old law school training, and Mr. Bond didn't have a quick answer for us. My understanding is financial institutions have to be designated by ordinance by the city council. This council has to approve where you can put the money by ordinance. And Mr. Bond was not able to give us a quick answer on that.
Yeah, that part, the first two, if you look at the third page of the memo, ordinance 1864 and 1821 are the two that refer to the institutions, which I think you had stepped out at that time. We're going to bring those back we're just going to clean them up. But the investment policy itself back, I believe, right after Ms. Powers started, was actually put into ordinance form. And so we just need to know if you guys want to leave it, the investment policy itself, in ordinance, or just make it a policy.
I feel we should remove the ordinance that's out there and that this would remain a policy. Is there any discussion on that position? Okay. Mr. Wilson, do you need direction on a vote for that, or what do you need from that?
Yeah, because either way, we'd either need to amend the ordinance or repeal the ordinance, so we would need a vote and direction on that.
So
Alderman Eugene Wesley?
my question, so if I get this right, I'm a little confused at this point right now. We have an ordinance in place now.
Right now.
Okay. We are considering removing the ordinance that's in place now and coming up with a new ordinance. Am I correct?
No, you would be taking the investment policy that's
Okay,
currently the ordinance,
Okay.
removing it from the ordinance,
And
then-
making it a policy.
and just accepting it as a policy, correct?
My question here, if it's always been an ordinance, why now make it a policy?
Well, it's only been an ordinance since November 3rd of 2005.
Yeah, but it's been existing several years now. So we are going backwards, the way I look at it, if we ban the ordinance and then do a policy. I mean, what was the reason why we made an ordinance at the beginning?
I would say that Mr. Wilson is bringing it to our attention because the thought being is that it probably shouldn't have been an ordinance to begin with, because it's more of a policy. And the reason why I support this, one of the main reasons, is because I feel it's like showing everyone out there what we're planning on doing every step of the way. And at some point, we don't want to disclose all of our operations and show exactly what's going to happen. So certain things are policies, certain things have to be disclosed for I imagine, statutes, and we're going to comply with that. And we comply with GASB, and we get audited, so everything is clear, and we do get audited. But, you know, the policy work, I don't think we want to spell that out for the world to see. Any other discussion on it? Alderman Eugene Wesley.
Anyone could pull our policies out long to get the Freedom of Information Act. Am I correct, Mayor?
Yes, that'd be correct, yeah.
Sure,
So,
okay,
I mean,
okay.
one way or another, it doesn't matter which way we go. Anyone could pull any policy out long to file the Freedom of Information Act. So I'm just saying, is we're going to spend money to attorney to resend the ordinance to now rewrite a policy. I just can't see that.
Alderman Police?
Mayor, maybe you can answer this. Is there a legal advantage for the city to be an ordinance on this versus the policy? That's why you guys, council, 3 years ago or whatever, 4 years ago, changed it?
I have no strong preference either way. The differences I would see as an ordinance is law that the finance department must follow. Policy is a recommendation for them to follow, and that would be the difference between the two. It's like, do you have a law that you can speed or not speed, or is your recommended policy not to speed?
Mr. Wilson?
2 quick points. One, the intent from our point of view downstairs was, it's kind of, well, it's one point, but it kind of speaks to what Alderman Wesley just said. You made the comment, do you want to pay the attorney to repeal the ordinance? Well, right now, if you leave it in ordinance, we have to pay the attorney to amend the ordinance. And every time we want to change one word, we have to pay the attorney to amend the ordinance. So you're going to be paying them either way. And it's a lot easier to change a policy, and we only have to come to you in 1 week to change the policy versus a 2 to 3 week process to change the ordinance. Should something else in the financial market go completely haywire, just it being a policy would give us a lot more flexibility to pivot a lot quicker than to have to go through and wait till it becomes law to act upon it.
Alderman Police?
Personally, I like to take the flexibility out and leave it as an ordinance.
Okay, I'm hearing three board members that would like it to be an ordinance. And Alderman Cadella as well. Is there any, I want to hear from some others. Okay.
That's your thing. I agree.
No, before we vote on that, Mr. Wilson, can you describe a situation where you may need to make a decision outside the parameters of this ordinance or policy, and that it could put us in a negative situation, to go through all the chains to change the ordinance, or can you describe a situation where this would work against us, to have it in ordinance form?
Well, right off the top, just put me on the spot. I can't, because to be honest with you, in today's environment, I stripped out everything that could get us in trouble.
Okay.
So unfortunately, I tried to make it as today's environment friendly as possible. That's not to say, 6 months, a year, 2 years from now, the environment's completely changed, and I wouldn't necessarily know what. The one thing that I could think of right off the top would be the agency bonds, because those are your Ginnie Maes, Fannie Maes. They have the full faith and credit of the federal government, but they're not actually federally issued instruments. So something could go haywire with those. Like I said, in today's environment, we stripped out anything even remotely toxic from the ordinance. The only thing I could think of would be kind of holding us back is if a couple of these investment types do come back and they are safer than they have been, and they offer higher interest rates, might not be able to take advantage of them, waiting a little bit. But in today's environment, I think we've tried to do a good enough job to strip out anything toxic to hedge against ill effects towards the city. So,
Okay, thank you. Alderman Coles?
I think you should make an ordinance. An ordinance you have to stick by. Policy, too many things can happen in a policy. An ordinance is, once it's made, it's made. Then you have to have amendments to